I looked at the first 30 days and my first 30-day commitment to sobriety as an experiment. Like, I really want to know what this feels like at the end of it, to the point where I'm willing to get through whatever I need to get through and do whatever's uncomfortable just so I can see how I feel after 30 days.
I'm going to give this thing up. What am I going to give to myself instead?
This isn't just about not drinking for 30 days and like white knuckling your way through. This is like an experiment in what does it look like if I fill my evening hours with X, Y, and Z, walking the dog or reading a book? I guarantee everyone's got something.
When I would even think about attempting to go sober for any period of time, it would be so scary because I would just think about the length of time. It took me so long to learn how to like break it down into just a day, hours, or minutes.
Welcome to Through the Glass Recovery Podcast, where we believe that connection is the opposite of addiction, vulnerability is the antidote to shame, and personal growth is the key to loving your sober life. We're your hosts, Julie Miller and Steve Knapp. Join us in conversations with people all over the globe about how you can thrive, not just survive, in a life without alcohol. Before we jump into the episode, we've got an announcement for our regular listeners. If you've followed us since the beginning, as so many of you have, you'll know how much we've changed and evolved over the years.
So, we're going to rebrand the podcast to No Alcohol Needed in the new year to reflect the growth and the evolution that we've experienced. Basically, we're leveling up. So, you're going to see some new colors, a new logo, a slightly new vibe, but it'll still be the same hosts doing the same thing. We're having meaningful conversations that help you learn how to be happy, no alcohol needed.
We'll announce more in the coming weeks, so keep an eye out on social media and our website for the new logo and all of the changes. We'll roll right into the new year with great new content aimed at personal growth, emotional intelligence, and real happiness in sobriety.
Okay, let's dig into this week's conversation. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for being here today. We are really looking forward to this conversation. We know that 1 in 5 adults in the US is going to attempt dry January this year. That's like a huge number of people that are going to try to make it 30 days without drinking alcohol, and we want to fully support them as best we can in their experiment, whatever that looks like, whatever their reasons are. So we are going to dig into this a little bit with Charles and Amber today. We're going to talk about how you can set yourself up for success, maybe make this as easy as it possibly can be, and also give you some thoughts on how to reflect back on what your experience is like. See if there's anything important that you need to take away from it as you go forward. So before we
dive in, I did some quick math because you said 1 in 5 people, and I was super curious as to what that actual number is. So the population of the US divided by 5 currently is there's going to be just over 68 million people.
I'm going to totally screw up your math really quick, dude. It's adults.
Oh,
right.
Screwed up my math.
Yeah.
How many percent? I have to do percentages. You said adults too. Dang
Amazing.
it. I tried.
That was a really good effort, though.
It's a lot.
It's probably still half
a lot
that.
of people.
So like let's call it like 20 million people.
Yeah,
At least.
that's
It's still a huge
so
number.
many. Yeah.
Still
Absolutely.
a huge number.
Huge number, and we want to help them be as successful as possible. So, yeah, good attempt on the math, though. I appreciate your effort there, Steve. That was really valiant.
I tried.
Okay, we are going to have Charles and Amber introduce themselves to you guys first, so you can get to know them a little bit before you hear what they have to share with us today. And Amber, I am going to let ladies go first. Will you please share with our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Amber, and I currently live in Grand Junction, Colorado. I moved here recently, just over a year, last September, from the East Coast. Made a whole life change, and came out to the mountains, and I'm absolutely loving it. And I'm creeping up on 4 years of sobriety. My sobriety date is Christmas Eve. So Christmas Eve will be 4 years of sobriety, and what a wild, amazing, beautiful ride it's been. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. We've gotten to watch a good bit of that wild, beautiful ride. So it's been amazing. And so happy you decided to move across the country to hang out in Colorado with me and Steve. So, and happy to have you here and sharing your thoughts with us
I'm
today.
happy to be here.
And, and then we do have our East Coaster here still. Charles, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Charles. I'm 48 years old. I've been sober for 6 years. Well, going on 6 years. I'm getting ahead of myself. Going on 6 years. I'm a father of three. I'm a grandfather of one. I work for the Postal Service, so pray for me like right now because it's already starting to get rough. I just got off of work a little while ago. It's been a great journey for me, just like the changes and stuff, and just learning the new me being sober. So it's always something new, trying out different stuff in life. It's a great journey.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely just it doesn't end, right? The journey and the exploration and the
Oh,
discovery never stop. For sure. And yeah, we'll keep you in our thoughts over the holiday season. I can't imagine doing what you do, but God bless you for making sure everybody gets all the things that people are sending all over the
He's
place.
like the real Santa Claus.
Right.
Yeah. How cool is that? Awesome. Well, let's dive into this conversation about dry January. Let's start with talking about what are some of the emotions that come up when someone starts thinking about even just taking a good long break from drinking. How can we help talk about those emotions? Because I think they're important. I think we need to really give some space to those thoughts and feelings.
for me, I used to like when I would even think about attempting to go sober for any period of time, it would be so scary because I would just think about the length of time. It took me so long to learn how to like break it down into just a day, hours, or minutes. I would always be like, oh, 2 months, 3 months. It was just unbelievable. I couldn't think of it that way. So I had to like really change the mindset. Don't think about 31 days. Just think about, okay, let's stay sober for today. And then, okay, I made it through 2 days. But when you start thinking about the whole length of time, it's just too much.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's it gets really overwhelming when you start trying to imagine anything more than what's right in front of you, and especially, where you're talking about just let's just look at what today looks like and see what we can learn from one day before we start diving into the next day, I think. Yeah. What about you, Amber? What came up for you? What do you remember coming up when you first thought about like those first early days and the decision to stop?
I definitely was gonna say, that first thought is like, I can never drink again, right? And it just slapped doom all over the situation. It just, uh
It makes everything look
oh my
sad,
gosh.
doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, and especially because, yeah, you don't know what you don't know. But yeah, that amount of time for sure. Lots of anxiety, true anxiety, of the unknown, not knowing what the next day or the day after that was going to look like, and not knowing how my friends were going to react, and just just the fear of what is my life going to look like, um, without alcohol, and you feel like you're going to be singled out and labeled, and like like you're broken, like there's something wrong with you, and um there's like some shame in there, of like, why do I even need to do this? But that's more for another talk too, right? Of just like all of the feelings that you're unpacking in those first 30 days and that early time. So yeah, fear of
Mhm.
the unknown for sure.
So I re-Googled, and there's 266 million adults. So if you do this math again, it's actually 53 million. So like if you look at this number and think, I have to do this for 30 days, or I'm going to challenge myself for 30 days, and it's you and a friend, or maybe it's just you. Uh, there is a lot more of you out there than what seems. I bring this up because a lot of the times when I quit drinking, one of the fears was loneliness. I had to go out and find people to help me with quitting drinking. I guess what I'm getting at here is there's a lot of people doing a lot of the same thing, and if you don't feel like trying this on your own, there's going to be resources and people out there talking about dry January, doing dry January with
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
And so the first thing there is I got sober in March. Nobody else is even trying it in March unless you were me and it was your time. But other than like this, the big dry January push, even if you're trying to experience it for 30 days and you want to and you're exploring that curiosity, hopefully it is curiosity, because if when I stay in curiosity, I'm way more open to getting through that struggle because I'm curious about what it's going to look like after the struggle's over. When I was really having a problem with alcohol, I had such a problem looking forward and looking at the stressful things that were upcoming in my life that I knew I wanted to drink over, or event that I didn't want to miss, that why even bother? Because I'm going to drink in 2 weeks anyways. Why would I quit? That's stupid. Um, the feeling, and Amber, I think you brought this one up, is if I'm quitting because I have a problem, then I'm really dealing with the disappointment in myself for letting it get that bad.
Mhm. Yeah, I think there's the shame, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the embarrassment and all the, what are people gonna think? And oh, I don't want to even have to admit to myself that I even need to think about trying to not drink for 30 days. Like, and what Steve's saying about how many people are doing this is if there's people that are attempting most of the people that are attempting dry January are doing that because they are at least like, what exactly is going on with my relationship with alcohol here? Right? They're at least asking some questions. They're realizing that alcohol isn't maybe the best thing for them. I mean, there's studies published every day. Like I think that it's been officially stated now there's no safe amount of alcohol. So there are people everywhere just kind of wondering what's going on here. And I know for me, like I lived in a state of I'm not entirely sure this is healthy
Mhm.
for a really long time before I was finally certain that things weren't in a good place. And God, I wish I could go back to when I was 29 years old, or, maybe I was more like 30, 31, when I was just starting to think maybe my relationship with alcohol isn't a very good one. I wish I could go back to that point and see what 30 days felt like. That'd be amazing. I would have learned a
Yeah.
lot. So I think that, yeah, I know for me, when Steve talked about the curiosity, I looked at the first 30 days and my first 30-day commitment to sobriety as an experiment. Like, I really want to know what this feels like at the end of it, to the point where I'm willing to get through whatever I need to get through and do whatever's uncomfortable just so I can see how I feel after 30 days.
How
Um,
much did you have to convince yourself that 30 days was going to be the target for you? Because
Me?
that's 30 days for you was the ticket to longer lasting sobriety.
Mhm.
You did the 30 days, you finally decided to try this 30-day thing. And it wasn't in dry January, but
Right.
we know people that did dry January and are still sober today because they were curious about their relationship with alcohol enough to be like, not anymore.
Mhm.
But you made this decision, you made this target. What made you pick a month as a target, other outside of it's just a calendar month?
Yeah, I don't know if there was anything in particular that made me pick 30 days, but I knew that I had been sober for a couple of weeks, and I wanted to know what it felt like to be sober for longer, and it helped me to put a number on it. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
needed I'm gonna make it to 30 no matter what happens. I don't want to see how that feels. And yeah, I don't know that there was something that specified those 30 days, but that definitely it was committing to 30 days that made all the difference for me. And my agreement with myself was I'm going to do whatever it takes to stay sober for 30 days. No questions asked, and no matter what happened for 30 days, I knew I could get through it and not drink. And then I promised myself that on day 30 in the morning, I would decide whether or not I was going to commit to another 30 days or not. Like I was not ready for forever. That was not even a possibility on my radar, but I knew I needed to commit to chunks at a time. And so I just in the morning, because we all know that sometimes by evening you start to wobble a little bit. So I was like, all right, morning of day 30, I'm going to make a decision about the next 30 days and decide if I want to do that. And I felt great on day 30. I was like, oh my God, this is wonderful. I want to know what 30 more days feels like. And the rest is history. But that's kind of how I found my way to sobriety was that first 30 days for sure. I also remember the dread of how am I going to deal with the feelings? Like how I am a naturally anxious person, and I knew that alcohol was how I dealt with anxiety. I knew that alcohol was how I dealt with stress. And I had two teenage daughters at the time, which means that just equals stress. And so I'm like looking at and I'm like, how am I going to deal with the emotions? That was like I remember just thinking about that was so overwhelming to think about, and that goes back to what Charles said. It's one day at a time. It does not matter how you deal with it. I mean, it does. Don't do anything horrible. But like get through the emotion. That's all that matters. At first, like you'll learn your emotional stuff eventually. But in the very beginning, man, just commit and be like, I'm gonna survive. I can be stressed out. It's not gonna kill me. I can do this. And that was a big part of it. So let's talk about like the things we actually learned in early sobriety. If we want our listeners that are, thinking about these just dry January, they want to know how to make this easier. They want to know how to make themselves more successful. What did you do in your story, in your journey that maybe made things a little easier or maybe set you up for some success that we can or what really bad mistakes did you make that we can share the lessons from so other people maybe don't make the same mistakes?
For me, I did my biggest thing and I did in the beginning was the accountability. I um I told a close friend and then I told my sister, so it was kind of like I put it out there so they were going to be like, okay, following up with it, just trying to see. And I think for some people, I didn't do it at the time, but for some people who are on social media, I mean, social media is now for me has been a big form of accountability also. I think just having people that's going to be like looking and you don't want to let a lot of people down. You don't want to let nobody down. Sometimes it's easier to kind of backtrack on yourself, but when you know someone else is watching, that you just don't want to fail them. And I think like what he said, so many people doing it. I'm pretty sure there's going to be like groups challenges that you can join, and they're probably going to be like doing daily updates so you can kind of talk about how you're feeling each day instead of just doing it by yourself. Because even though I did tell someone, I didn't really go back and talk each day. They didn't even come, they didn't know to come back and say, "Oh, how you feeling today?" But I think if you get in a group with people who are doing it at the same time, you can come back and be like, "Okay, today was rough." Somebody else will, say what they did to make it through those days. And other than accountability, it's just planning. Like Steve said, it's an event gonna come up in 2 weeks and it's gonna catch you. Because that was a big failure that I would have. I would make it to like when I went past that month, I would have like the springtime and always be a big event. I go to the beach and that got me like 3 times. And I wouldn't think, okay, maybe I need to skip it. And I don't know. I kind of blame COVID. I think COVID helped me out because everything was canceled when I did get sober. So
Same.
it got me past that wanting to go out. I made it through that year without, tripping up and going out. But yeah, just, being accountable and making a plan. Just don't just say, okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna be sober. No, you gotta really like say, If I go out somewhere, I'm going to have my accountability partner, somebody with me, or I'm just going to stay home. But don't just try to do it without thinking about
I hear people so often, this is one of my pet peeves. They'll be like, "Well, I'm going out to a party this weekend. I hope I stay sober."
I hope.
And I'm like, "Y'all don't stay sober on hope. This is not how this works." It drives me crazy, right? And that's what you're talking about, Charles. You
it.
don't
Right.
just walk in and be like, "I hope I don't drink."
Right.
Like, you go in with a plan. You know what you're gonna do. You know what steps you're gonna take. And if you don't, it's okay to stay home,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I was just
For
gonna say,
sure.
or you just don't go, and,
Right.
I think for me, the biggest piece is like, understanding your why, right? Like we hear the understanding your why, but your why is you. Like this is something you want to do for you. This is something you want to do for your health, your mental health, your physical health. Um, you are the most important thing, right? And that's a something we learn is, learning how to put ourselves first and put our oxygen masks on first, so to speak. And it's so important to remember that you're doing this for you. And so it's important um, to share that, and to like with the accountability piece, there's that, hey, like your closest friends, if there's an event coming, it's, hey, I'm going to be doing this for the next 30 days. I'm doing an experiment. I really want to see how I feel. And it's really important to me that I stick to this 30 days. So I'm not sure how I'm going to feel when your birthday comes up at the end of the month, but, I'm just letting you know I might not be able to come, right? It's just set
Mhm.
yourself up. Don't wait for the day of, like, the planning. It is one day at a time, but the planning part, you can go a little farther out and you can say, I'm just not sure how I'm going to feel and if I'm going to make it, and you're going to find out right away. Most people, that was one of the things, when I got sober, I was like, hey, like I'm doing this thing. And most people were like, okay, great. That's awesome. Good for you. Like a lot of it's in our heads, as far as what's gonna go on. And so I think sharing that with the people that you care about, you're gonna find that they'll support that, especially when you tell them this is important to me and I really want to give this a good shot. So this month might look a little different, for sure. The planning of it. So but yeah, that you're the most important
Mhm.
person and that, you gotta put yourself first. If anybody has a problem with you not coming to their birthday, that's a whole other thing that you're gonna need to get through. And again, with support, 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 support. Can't say it enough. Get a buddy, join a group, like all the things that we've said. It really absolutely does help to be accountable and to share the wins when you get through a day, when you get through the next day, and also to share the not great days when you're like, F this, why am I doing this? Right? You've got people who are, on day 25 and you're on day 2, whatever it is. And they're like, no, seriously, keep going the next couple of weeks, or the next week's going to suck, but I swear week 3 is going to be great. It's, you'll have all of that information. So definitely support groups or have your friends, hey, let's do this challenge. Let's see which one of us can make it to 30 days and make it the curiosity piece. Yeah.
Mhm.
So my mistake was when I quit. I was I was a decently heavy smoker, and when I quit, I smoked way more, like way more. And I'm calling that a mistake because it didn't do me any good. I ended up doing a lot of the same things that I was doing, like hiding smoking. I was doing that, or like hiding drinking. I was doing that with smoking. I was hiding
Mhm.
smoking. The same set of habits I transferred to another substance, which would have been nicotine at the time. Like I didn't have a problem with weed. I didn't transfer it anywhere else, but like I transferred those bad habits to something else almost immediately. Like smoking was a need just as much as drinking was. And so I focused the energy on the other need that I was still not having a problem with. And so, um, quitting drinking, yes, it was the better of two evils, but I consider that like one of my mistakes. And when I look back on it, it took me another 6 months before I realized that I was doing the same stupid shit with smoking that I was with alcohol. And I just got angry one day and quit. Julie knows I was on the phone with you that morning. But that was I think like my main mistake. And the other one was, and I picked up something early enough for it to not be that bad. But when I quit, there was a time hole that existed that I didn't know that was coming. I had to fill my time up now with something else, and alcohol was a large part of what I did. And when I removed it, I had no fucking idea what to do with myself. I really had no idea. Charles, I think you started working out and you started getting physical, and you
Right.
found a space for the energy. If you're going into dry January, pick up a hobby too. I picked up baking bread early on enough, and it was within the first month. Somebody had suggested to me, try try something that you've always wanted to try before. And baking bread was the thing. It was in the middle of COVID too, so you couldn't freaking do a whole hell of a lot. And so I had always wanted to make a loaf of bread, so I started baking bread and that filled my time. It created a sense of peace, and it created a sense of purpose. It was something small. It was something I could give back to the family. It was something I could be proud of. And all of that stuff made the effort worth it. That's what really helped me be successful. If I was feeling icky internally, because the first 2 weeks were rough, and then after that, I really started feeling physically better. I had a weekend where I made like 5 loaves of bread. I went overboard, and then I started giving them to the neighbors because my ex was like, "Why do we need that much?"
The
And she was
neighbors are
entirely
like, I don't know what's going on with Steve, but this is great.
Yeah, I mean, I figured out a different way to use yeast because I brewed my own beer. Yeah, I mean, you can't use that yeast, but I figured out a different way to use yeast to create something.
That's funny.
But that was what helped me. What helped me was finding people to talk to, which is why I brought it up right at the beginning, and finding something to fill the time, because that
Yeah.
I could not stand being alone in my own mind, not being busy for a very long time.
No, I always say, like, when I first quit drinking, it felt like there were about 162 hours from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Like, I could not believe how slowly the time crept
Mhm.
by in the evenings. The one big, like, logistical helpful thing that I did in the first 30 days, and it started on day 1, was completely changing my evening routine. So
Mhm.
I was stay-at-home mom, right? And I'd do all the normal things during the day, and then 5 PM would hit, and I would walk into the kitchen to start fixing supper, and I would open a bottle of wine. That was my routine. That's how everything went. I would have a glass of wine while I cooked. I'd have a glass of wine with dinner. I'd have a glass of wine while I was, like, putting the kids to bed or reading to them or finishing up homework or whatever, and then I'd have the 4th glass of wine, finish the bottle, after everybody was asleep. And that was my nightly routine for the most part. And so walking into the kitchen was like this massive trigger, and I couldn't think about anything. I had the hardest time. So the first thing I did was get on Pinterest and pin a bunch of crock pot recipes and start putting dinner in the crock pot in the morning so I didn't even have to cook. Because just starting out at 5 PM trying to cook dinner was too much. I couldn't do it. I could not, like, it triggered everything. My brain was like on fire wanting to drink. So I'd have dinner in the crock pot ready to go at dinner time instead of me having to be in the kitchen. And then I'd take the dog for a walk, and then I would go work out, and then I would work on a sewing project, and, like, I would lay out my whole evening. I would know how I was gonna spend every single hour or 20 minutes at a time, and it was completely different than my routine had been previously, other than obviously, like, I still had to make sure kids went to bed, but everything changed, and that made it like, they call it the wine witch, right? Like, that when you hit that time of day where you usually start drinking, and that gave that a lot less power to just completely flip everything upside down. And that carried into kind of starting a morning routine because I'd wake up and I'd actually feel good. I wasn't hungover and miserable. So then I could like journal and I could sit and enjoy a cup of coffee. And so routines were big, but especially that evening routine and just completely turning it upside down, doing completely different things was huge for me.
Definitely, that's like it sounds like I'm hearing you say this, and it sounds like just a change in focus.
100%.
Focusing
Yeah.
on different things, focusing on changing the routine, focusing on not putting yourself in the place where the trigger the trigger point. Screw this. This isn't going to work. Try something
Yeah.
different.
Well, so much of drinking, especially like there's two parts to recovery, and I think all four of us can attest to like most of this journey is figuring out your emotional stuff and learning how to rebuild your life and the people you spend time with and like that all comes later. Those first 30 days, that shit is habit. Like it's straight up breaking a
Hmm.
habit and not
Hmm.
doing the same thing you've always done. And so for me, that started with just not even doing any of the same things. Um, yeah. So do you guys have any other things that just really helped in the day to day in those early days? I know connection is huge and accountability and bringing people into your experiment, but what else really helped when you did have a craving or, to avoid cravings altogether? What else did you guys do?
I used to like kind of trick myself. I like if I know like if I'm feeling that craving, I'll be like, you know, let's bear through this for this moment. I can drink tomorrow, but just make it through today. Go to sleep, and then let's see where we are the next day.
Yep.
Because it would be like I used to work evenings back then, and I would get off from work at like 1 o'clock, and that would be my time to stop by the store and buy beer. And I just have to just like say, okay, not tonight. Let's make it home and see what tomorrow feels like. And I just kind of tricked myself and just kind of put it off. Okay, not today, but tomorrow. And eventually it just got to where I wasn't even like thinking about it as much when I would drive home. But it was a challenge. I wouldn't drive that particular way home that I used to go,
Hmm.
change up my route. I would I would buy a soda when I leave work just so I could have something in my hand, something to sip on. But it was just I had to like tell my brain to stop thinking about it just for right now and let's move on through it. And then it eventually gets to where you don't, you're not thinking about it as much. But at first, yeah, it just and that really it's a time where you can think of Clay. I'm really thinking about alcohol a lot. It's you kind of reflect on it like, why am I thinking about it? I don't have a problem like that, do I? So if you find yourself like that in those 30 days, then it might be something that you want to stick with. If you start to
Right.
find yourself thinking like that.
Definitely. We call that delaying the decision. That's exactly something that we teach in coaching is
Hmm.
you don't have to decide right now what you're going to do. Put it off. Wait till tomorrow and then you can make a decision and see how you're feeling. And a hugely powerful tool because in the moment it's a struggle. But yeah, waiting and just being like, I'm not going to do anything right now. Maybe tomorrow. We'll see how I feel in the morning. It's a brilliant tool for sure. What about you, Amber? Do you have anything that really helped in those earlier days?
I was gonna say, I'm sure really surprised you didn't mention journaling, so I will go ahead and bring journaling into the conversation for us. But yes, writing down in just filling pages with all of the stuff that was in my head. And then, being able to go back through that, a few months later and see, like, just a few months, or at the end of 30 days, and just going through that and seeing all of those things. And again, just getting it out of your head, because it hangs out up there. And, I kind of got away from journaling, and now I'm trying to get back in. Because it's one of those things that when you do it, when you write down everything that's going on up there, the whole process changes as far as how you address it, and what you're going to do, and your feelings about the feelings, right? Like, you have your feelings, and then you can read them and be like, how do I feel about this, about how I was feeling? And then sort of go from there. I mean, the first 30 days for me were like different. I mean, for me, I isolated a little bit, but because a lot of the people that I hung out with were people from the bar, and everybody drank. I really did not have any, like, friends that wanted to just, like, get coffee or hang out. And so I was like, "Okay, well, I'm just gonna." I mean, I was dating someone at the time, but that's a whole other story. So, but when I was home, I learned the value of really, I started to learn how much I enjoyed my time, and I had never really given myself that. I was this hugely social,
Mhm.
always involved in all the things, always involved in what everybody else was doing. Um, and so, you kind of pair that, like Steve was saying, find a hobby. Like, this isn't just about not drinking for 30 days and, like, white knuckling your way through. This is like an experiment in, what does it look like if I fill my evening hours with X, Y, and Z, walking the dog or reading a book? Like, I guarantee everyone's got something. Everybody's got something that they're like, oh, I just don't have time for that. Oh, I'd
Mhm.
love to join a book club. I don't have time. And, like Steve, when you eliminate the amount of time in a day that you are drinking, you are like, wow, I could run the country with the amount of time that I actually have in my day. Like, I could learn 7 different languages in a month. I mean, wild, right? And so pair it with, you know what, this month, I go back to, this month is about me. This month is about, what do I want to do? What do I want to learn? I want to learn guitar. Perfect time. Do that. Learn, how to enjoy, if you're someone that's single like me and always just out in that social space, learn to really dig in and enjoy that peace that comes with just being home. I had my cats, maybe get a cat if you don't have one. They're a lot less work than.
That sounds like something Amber would always
Yeah,
recommend.
like,
Oh my god, yeah, this is my or this is my dry January
yeah,
cat.
my dry
This is
January
my dry
cat,
January
a
puppy.
lot less work than a dog, so get an older cat, already litter box trained, there's lots of them in the shelters.
Amber's
Um,
recommendation. Just get a pet.
yeah, and, and then the other thing I'm gonna mention too, and I mean, maybe not so much for the dry January part, maybe extending that a little bit if you decide this is something you're gonna do longer than the 30 days. For me, I mean, I did Vivitrol for 4 months, and it's like, the way that I explain it is like, when you've got a migraine, or not even a migraine, when you've got that dull headache that you can still function and you can still do things, but it's constantly there and it doesn't let up, and the rest of your thinking is just like, your attention just keeps getting pulled to that pain that's in the back of your head. That's really all it did for me. Was it quieted that out for a little bit so that I could actually learn how to rewire my routine, my thoughts, my processes, and all of that stuff without the annoying chatter in the background. And after 4 months, I was like, "All right, I wanna that's it." It wasn't something I wanted to do forever, but it helped me in that initial stages to just quiet the chatter a little bit, um, and do what I needed to do with a clear head. So, but yeah, definitely learning
Mhm.
to value your time, the piece of just being at home and not being involved in the drama. And I realized I was way more introverted than I thought. I'm still social. I still love people. I love going out, but now I understand connection versus just socializing and being part of a large group
Mhm.
of people. So, yeah. Hmm.
I love what you said, and I want to reiterate this for our listeners. This isn't just about taking something away. This isn't just about getting rid of alcohol. This is about what are you going to bring in its place. And, you're listening to this, you've got a week and a half yet still before dry January starts. That gives you time to decide what it is that you want to bring into your life in place of the alcohol. And I think that, if that's a new hobby, if that's friendships that you want to
Hmm.
rekindle or put more time into, if that's you want to sit down and spend time with yourself, and journal and reflect and learn and read and whatever that looks like. But if you look at it as just I'm giving something up, I can't do this thing, I'm losing it, and you don't replace it with something that's really gonna feel good, you're probably gonna be pretty grumpy for 30
Hmm.
days. If you are bringing something great into your life, it's gonna help boost your mood, it's gonna make you feel so much better about yourself, it's gonna give you something to look forward
Hmm.
to. Steve, you
So
pointed. What's up?
you said something. You said you're giving something up.
Mhm.
Give yourself something back in
Hmm.
return.
Yeah.
That's the gift, right? Give
Mhm.
yourself a present. Give yourself something back in return. I'm going to give this thing up. What am I going to give to myself instead? I mean, this is coming out right before Christmas, so and everyone likes to last minute shop, so you can come up with an idea, like maybe ask somebody for a guitar if you wanted to learn how to play one right before Christmas is an excellent way. And if your birthday is in between, like mine, you have a little bit more time. But
Hmm.
that being said, replacing it with something that is healthy, not like what I did, cigarettes, that, I mean, wasn't the best idea. Anyways, um, yeah, if you finding a good, healthy, even habit, read a
Mhm.
book. I tried that too. There's there's plenty of things to attempt, try. And if dry January is just a life experiment, you'll probably have a decent amount of fun just making it an experiment, especially if you share it with someone. I'm telling you, from 4.5 years of sobriety, sharing the struggle with someone
Mhm.
is way the fuck easier than sharing it with the mirror image of yourself.
For
It
sure.
is it just is.
Doing anything that sucks is better when you don't do it alone. Like,
It's better than
even
shared.
and, I'm not even gonna say sucks. I actually wanna talk about this a little bit. Your attitude going into this is going to make or break your experience. If you
Mhm,
go into anything and you're like, "This is gonna be miserable, it's gonna be awful," you're gonna get miserable and awful.
Hmm.
That's just what it's gonna be.
you're gonna
If you
find
go in
reasons to validate that thought, right? You're gonna look at
absolutely.
yeah.
Whatever you're expecting, your brain is going to look for ways to validate that, right? To find
Mhm,
evidence to prove your thoughts right. If you're looking for ways that this is actually kind of cool, and you're looking for ways that you're, giving something to yourself, you're improving your health, you're giving yourself a chance to try something new, whatever that is, you're
mhm,
going to enjoy it more. It will be hard, but hard doesn't mean bad. Hard just means you've been presented with a challenge or you've taken on a challenge and you get to freaking succeed, which is actually really cool and it's going to
mhm,
feel really great. So your whole attitude going into it is a really important piece of this. If you're going in dreading it, you're not gonna have very much fun, but you could really have a great time if that's what you decide you're gonna do. You actually have more control over that than you think you do.
mhm. Facts.
So let's talk really quick about like let's say everybody's gotten to the end of 30 days, 31 days, January. What are some questions they can ask themselves? What are some things they can look for? How can they reflect on that time and take some lessons going forward into the rest of the year, whatever that looks like.
I would think about like the time, how did you spend that time? Like, was it constructive? Did you realize the big difference in the time that you have now that you haven't been drinking versus when you were drinking? Like, were you wasting a lot of time? And what could that time do for you in the future? And goes along with time, how much money you were spending. I mean, I remember when I first
That is
started,
true right there.
right?
Yeah.
The
Keep
money.
track of how much money
I
you saved.
Yeah, I had one of those counters, and it was like, calculate how much money you were saving. And I was like, wow, it's a lot. The time and the money. I mean, if you're somebody that's trying to do something in life, I mean, just those two pieces right there could mean so much with
I
moving
just
forward in the
pulled up my
future.
counter that I have a counter on my phone still. So I've been sober for 4 years and 2 months, and I have saved $22,980, almost $23,000. And that's at like one cheap bottle of wine a day.
That's excellent.
$23,000 in 4 years. So let that be some motivation to anybody out
Right,
there that's listening,
I
right?
think that's
right.
motivation for me. And I've been sober for 4 years and I'm all over here like, I'm so bad at saving money. Why can't I? Because that's the other reason. I'm like so bad at saving money, yet I always found money to get the wine, to get the box of
Right.
wine. I need to go look at like the average cost of a bottle of wine right now, and I need to like make a mental note. I'm going to like do the dopamine hit of like transferring $13.99 out of my. I'm gonna have like another fund
That's
because I'm over
a
here
good
like,
idea.
wow, in 4 years I could have 20 something grand.
Those are some epic vacations,
Great
right?
to be reminded of that.
Down payment.
Yeah, it's so good to be reminded of
Down
that.
payment.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's absolutely some stuff to reflect on right there, Charles. I completely agree
Mhm.
with that, with all of that.
I forgot about the money until he said that.
Like, dang.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
And I didn't go
Um,
out and drink. Like, I didn't go to the bar where drinks are like $15
Mm.
each.
And you don't think about, like Charles talks about the money, how much money you spent on booze. What I don't know that anybody tracks, I'm sure somebody out there does, all of the secondary purchases you made when you were drinking. So
drunk
the
Amazon
Oh my
shopping.
God.
oh God, yeah. Drunk Amazon
Late night fast
shopping,
food.
late night fast food, bags of chips, like all of the extra stuff that you used to soak it up.
Oh my God. Like supplements to like support my liver and support whatever to try to make up. Like I swear I probably spent $40 on like one bottle of liver supplements because I was so scared of what I was doing to my body.
Anyways, that like all of that
Yeah.
all of the secondary costs that aren't tracked just as much or
100%.
more.
Yeah. And now we're all sitting here thinking about how wealthy we
I
could
know.
be if
I
we
just I was just chuckling at
Oh,
your
yeah.
because again, it's just the funny like, oh, the liver supplements that I got because I was afraid of what I was doing to my liver. Not quitting drinking was, never at the top of the list. Let me get some
No.
supplements.
If I could just take a thing to
Yeah.
negate the effects of the thing that's actually creating it, then I'll be fine.
So bad. And I know
I'll be
I know
fine.
there's listeners out there right now that are nodding along with me because I know a lot of us did that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I would say
on your
oh, go
question,
ahead.
oh, okay, I'll be quick. I would say ask yourself what worked at the end of 31 days. Ask yourself what worked. Well, what didn't? And then how do I feel now versus how did I feel on January 1st? And if you could write January 1st how you feel on Jan 1 down, so you could actually go back, send yourself an email even, so you have the email, you don't have to write it down, and then go back to that email and read what you wrote to yourself and then compare the two. It's so easy to get lost in all of the day-to-day and all of the stuff that we do, and it doesn't feel like it's worth the time. It is when you get to that point in time and you get to read what you wrote back then, because 30 days can turn into a blur really quickly.
Definitely.
Go for it, Amber.
Oh, I was just gonna
It's
say,
yours.
like, the question you could ask yourself, because honestly, like, as cheesy as it sounds, is like, but did you die? Because literally, it's like at the end of 30 days, you look back and you're like, I did that, right? And it is the first 30 days of anything. We've all, like, 30 days of working out, 30 days, you're creating a new habit. We all know the science of creating a new habit. That's all you're doing. It's just creating a new routine and creating a new habit. And we've obviously talked about how to deal with the cravings and stuff, but this is just creating a new routine, creating a new habit. And it's hard to do that in 30 days. So, like, pat yourself on the back and be like, I did that. And know that if you just keep duplicating whatever you did to get to that 30 days, you know, you do another 30 days and then 90 days. And before you know it, it's 4 years. And you're like, wow, where did the time go?
Yeah, before you do it, you're like, it's 4 years. What did it take?
It
30
took
days.
30 days.
All it took was 30
Took
days
30
to get
days.
to 4 years.
Yeah.
One day at a time. Wait a
Yep.
minute.
And tracking that progress. And then, one thing I forgot to mention earlier for those that don't like to write or journal, I did a lot of voice memos early on in my sobriety, because it was late. I'd be in bed. I'd just grab my phone, get the voice memo, and I listened to some of those recordings, a year down the line, and was like, oh, wow, that's how I felt. That's what I thought. So any way you can find that works for you to just track, like Steve said, even if it's just like get some different emoji stickers and just put them on a calendar, right? And just like each day, how am I feeling? Am I feeling Am I feeling great? Am I feeling really crappy? And just kind of see, and you can actually see how that changes. You can go back and look at what was going on around this week. I was feeling really crappy. Was it, you were missing out on certain events, or it gives you data. I think we talk about data all the time. It gives you
That's it,
information and
data.
it gives you data instead of just flying blind and going 30 days without drinking and not having a way to see how it's actually impacted your day-to-day life. Whatever works for you and however you can do that, I think is super useful and super valuable.
Go for it, Julie.
I love that data. That's exactly what it is. Any part of this experience, when you turn around and look back at any part of it, it gives you data. I think that, when I did my whole journey started with 30 days. And I feel like at the end, I like I said, I promised myself at 30 days I was going to see how I felt, and make some decisions about what it was going to look like going forward. And one of the questions I asked myself was, okay, if I keep going forward the way that I've been for these last 30 days, what's that going to look like? How am I going to feel about myself? And how am I going to feel about my life if I keep going down this non-drinking path? And on the flip side, if I go back and drink again, what's that going to look like going forward? And how am I going to feel about myself? And how am I going to feel about my life? And like, I had enough data to know exactly what that was going to look like if I went back to drinking and I kept going down that path. I knew how I was going to feel and I knew how my life was going to look. Like, I'd done that 1,000 times. I was ready to find something different. I was ready to see what things looked like if I kept going on the no alcohol path, because I knew what the other path looked like. I'd been on it forever. It was time to see what the new path looked like. And I think that, if you split that and look both directions, which direction feels like a direction you want to go? Is it worth maybe trying another 30 days and see how you feel at the end of that, and see if it feels like it's worth it to keep going. So I think that's maybe one of the ways to reflect. I do think that no matter what you do to reflect, when you get to the end of dry January, make sure you take time to reflect on your experience, whatever that looks like. The other thing really quick that I just want to touch on, because there's going to be people who decide to do dry January and something comes up mid-month and they end up drinking. Fine. Like, that does not mean you give up and you'll go right back to drinking. That means you drank one day in dry January. You don't have to throw it all out. You can just pick back up and keep going forward.
And it's data.
That doesn't mean that. Yeah, it's data.
Data.
Exactly.
It's data.
You're like, oh, okay. What can I learn from that? That's all it is data. It doesn't mean give up completely and be like, I failed. I can't do it. And I think that's something that I just want everyone to know is it's okay if you slip. It's not the end of the world. Doesn't mean you're a failure. It means that you learned something and you can still pick up and keep going forward and learning more things.
Yep.
Um,
What didn't work that time?
exactly. What didn't work? What can I learn from it? Right? That's
Mhm.
all you can do with something like that, and that's the way to win from it instead of just let it take over and ruin it for you. We're gonna kind of get ready to wrap this up here, but I want to ask you guys each a question really quick. What is one thing that surprised you about the first 30 days of going alcohol free?
Um, the change in my mood. I used to think that I was like suffering from depression and anxiety, and a lot of times I did feel like hopeless, and it was just I was thinking that it was something that was wrong with me. I didn't think that me drinking could cause me to feel depression like days after I didn't have anything to drink, and it took more than just a few days of not drinking for me to totally get it out of my system. Um, I used to struggle with sleeping and like with anxiety and stuff. I couldn't fall asleep. I would take stuff for anxiety and depression. And after I stopped drinking, I was like, I didn't need it. I was able to, I didn't feel, the unease. I didn't feel the hopeless feeling. I started feeling like, hey, my life could get better. And I was
Mhm.
just, and it was quick. It was quick within maybe a few weeks that I was feeling those changes that, that made me, okay, want to continue because I thought it was me. I didn't think that alcohol could have that much power after just, had to stop for a long time. I mean, had to stop for more than just a few days.
Mhm.
Mhm. That's huge. That's
Yep.
that's that there's so much power just in that one realization. That's a great answer. What about you, Amber?
Mine was my energy. I was like, I literally called my friend, and was like, "Is this normal? Like, I feel like I just took speed, because like I would get home from work and I would just find myself, and I kind of got into the new routine too of like making myself dinner every night and going through this new, take care of myself routine, make dinner, do the dishes, clean up the kitchen and prepare myself. So I had this, but I'd get home from work and I'd be cooking and I'd be doing stuff and I'd be cleaning and I'd be like I was a little bit of a maniac. I was also at home, and so I think I was also these were ways I was filling my time was was self-care that I had been neglecting for so long and like adulting, and like doing these things that I was like rebelling against. I don't know, from childhood, but I I just had all this energy and I wasn't sleeping super great yet. That came a little bit later, but I wasn't just this. I don't know. It was just bizarre for me. And it was something I noticed. And I literally was like, is this normal? Is this okay? I asked my physician, like, am I okay? That and like how much I had to pee. I mean, let's be honest. Like I literally asked my physician like if I was okay because I couldn't even I had a 45-minute drive to work and I couldn't get like halfway through my coffee. I'd have to stop like twice on the way to work. And I remember her telling me, like, your kidneys are literally you're giving them permission to do what they're supposed to do. And so they're kind of in overdrive in the beginning, right? All your body, when you give it that break, all of your body processes are like, oh, oh, and they jump in and they're like, we haven't gotten to do this for a while. Um, and so, I mean, these are real things, better bowel movements, more pee, and lots of energy. That was literally, and that to me,
Facts.
I had said after
Facts.
30 days, I literally to me, how I felt physically actually feeling the difference in my body, feeling the water weight go away, feeling more clear-headed, my body starting to do what it was designed to do. That to me, I tell people the health benefits alone were enough to make me
Mhm.
do 30 days plus now 4 years. I could deal
Yeah.
with the emotional and the mental stuff. I could figure that out. I could get help. There were resources out there. But physically, was enough for me to never put alcohol into my body again. I felt that good after 30 days.
Amazing. Yeah, just amazing. It's such a gift to our
Yeah.
bodies. Like, I swear you can literally feel your organs, like, celebrating, right? Definitely.
Hmm.
Um, I think for me, if we're talking the most surprising thing in the first 30 days, it was how I felt about myself. I really didn't like who I was, who I had become. I really dealt with a lot of self-loathing. And, I'd hustle my way through the days, but I still hated myself by the end of every night. And the end of 30 days, I was so proud of myself. And I really starting to have some confidence and some self-worth and all that stuff that I thought that was like I think to Charles' point, I had so much depression and so much of that was based on how I felt about myself and what a failure I felt like I was, and just getting through those first 30 days felt like I was capable of some stuff, and was worthy of being proud of myself and of doing nice things for myself, and that was a huge shift that I have carried forward and, I mean, has completely taken off in the last 4.5 years, but definitely, I didn't realize that alcohol was the primary driver behind how much I really hated who I was at that point.
Yeah, I'm gonna tag on to what Amber said. My body felt way better, like way better. I just felt way better physically. Outside of like my sleep having gotten way better, I mean, my sleep had gotten so bad. I I had an appointment with an ear, nose, and throat doctor, and went and was doing like sleep studies and shit like that on my way to CPAP machines and shit. And that was all just because I was drinking. I had no idea that after I let go of it for that long, how much better I was just gonna feel physically. And the with the physical with physically feeling better, I mentally felt better. Like those
Mhm,
2 went hand in hand, but it was me feeling better physically that really took the cake. And I wasn't even in that good of shape, but I was in better shape than the not good of shape than I was beforehand. Anyways, thank you, Charles, and thank you, Amber, for spending this time with us and sharing your thoughts. We really appreciate you being here and your time.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure.
thank you guys
Mhm.
so much, and to our listeners, we really hope that this gives you some tips and tools and some hope for getting through dry January and really enjoying the experience and getting a lot out of it, because you truly are giving yourselves a gift by just taking on this experiment.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much.